The whole thing was over in 9 minutes, and it did not happen in the room everybody remembers. It happened in a stairwell. But start at the start. A Tuesday in Seoul, 11 in the morning, a lobby with 60 people in it. Gu Tae-oh announced his engagement from the second step of that staircase, in Korean, in 4 sentences. The room did what rooms do. Somebody at the back clapped and everybody else caught up. Dolores Wren was standing near the lift doors with a folder against her chest. She is 41, 9 years with that family, and the only foreigner in the building. She understood all 4 sentences, because you do not spend 9 years in Seoul and stay a tourist. She did not clap. She waited until the room turned toward the front. Then she went up to the 4th floor and printed 1 page. Her notice was on his desk at 11:40. There is a version of this where a woman resigns because her heart is broken. It is not this one, and it is not this one either. Dolores had loved that man quietly for 4 of those 9 years. She had never done anything about it, and she was not going to. That is not why she left. She left because at 10:10, 40 minutes before the announcement, a courier brought her documents to file. Standard. Corporate. She files everything. Clause 9 was a transfer of signing authority. Here is the part nobody in that lobby understood, including the man on the stairs. For 9 years, every legitimate contract that family signed carried the name Dolores Wren. Not his, hers, the construction arm, the permits, the payroll, the ground rent on 11 properties. 9 years of paper, and the signature at the bottom of all of it belongs to a woman who has never been invited to anybody's house for dinner. They gave it to her because she had no side. She was not anybody's cousin. She could not inherit, and she could not scheme. If she ever became a problem, she had a visa that could be made to lapse. She was the safest possible person to hand a pen to. For 9 years, that was true. Clause 9 moved that pen to a man in the other family on the Monday after the wedding. So she went through a document at 10:10, watched an engagement at 11, and put 1 page on a desk at 11:40. At 4 that afternoon, Gu Tae-oh said the sentence everybody remembers and got it completely wrong. You are not leaving. 2 things nobody in that building had worked out. Why does a woman with no title hold the only signature that matters? And what does a man do when the thing he is holding on to is the thing he already agreed to sell? Stay with me. She goes, that is not the ending. That is the middle. He did not look at it until 2 o'clock. That is not carelessness. That is what a Tuesday looks like when you have just announced an engagement in a lobby. 19 people wanted a word. 2 of them flew in. His mother rang 3 times from Busan, and he took all 3 calls standing up. The page sat under a black lacquer paperweight from 10 to 12 until 2. I know that because Dolores was in the outer office the whole time, and she watched the paperweight not move. She did not do anything else. She answered the phone in 2 languages. She moved a lunch. She sent the Wednesday figures to the accountant in Mapo, and she did not once look at the door. That is the discipline 9 years buys you. It is not loyalty. It is knowing that the only thing worse than being ignored is being caught noticing. At 2, he came out with the page in his hand. Come in. I have the call with Ilsan at 10 past. Move it. So she moved it and went in, and she sat down in the chair she had sat in perhaps 4,000 times. Gu Tae-oh put her notice on the desk between them and turned it around so it faced her. Explain this. It is 30 days, Dolores said. It is what my contract asks for. I have put the handover list on the 2nd page. That is not what I asked. I know. He waited. She let him. Here is a thing about that man that people outside the building never understood. He was not loud. In 9 years, she had heard him raise his voice twice, and both times it was at his brother. What he did instead was go completely still, and wait, and let the silence do the work, and it worked on absolutely everybody. It had stopped working on Dolores around year 4. Is it money? No. Is it Ha-Yoon? And there it was, out loud, 3 minutes in, which she had not expected until much later, or possibly never. No, she said. And it was true. And she was glad it was true, because she would not have lied about it, and she did not want to find out what her face did. Then what? Dolores looked at the man across the desk. She had a choice in that second, and I want to be clear that she made it deliberately. Insane. She could have said Clause 9. She could have put the whole thing on the table at 2 minutes past 2, and been on a plane by Friday with everybody's respect. She did not, and her reason was not noble. Her reason was that she wanted to see whether he already knew. 30 days, she said. The list is on page 2. Something went across his face. Not anger. You have been here 9 years. Yes, you have never once asked me for anything. That is not true. I asked for a chair with a back on it in the 2nd year. He almost did something with his mouth. It did not get there. Dolores. 9 years, and he used her first name perhaps 30 times, and she could have told you where she was standing for most of them. I would like you to tell me the real reason, he said. Not because I am owed it. Because if it is something I have done, I would rather know it now than find out at 50. And that, more than anything else in this story, is why she nearly stayed. She stood up instead. 30 days is a long time, Mr. Gu, she said. Look at the 2nd page. She was at the door when he said it. He did not say it the way it sounds when people repeat it. There was nothing in his voice at all. He said it. The way you say a fact that has just occurred to you and that you have not finished thinking about. You are not leaving. Dolores stopped with her hand on the handle. And in the outer office, 4 floors down and 2 hours later, a courier from the other family's lawyers arrived to collect the countersigned copy of the agreement. The one with Clause 9 in it, which nobody had told him about either. Before I tell you what was in Clause 9, do one thing for me. Tell me in the comments where you are watching from tonight, and tell me whether you have ever handed in a notice you did not fully explain. Now let me tell you about the other woman in this story. Ha-Yoon came to the 4th floor on the Thursday, alone without telling anybody, which is not a thing the fiancé of a man like that does. She was 33. She had been introduced to Gu Taiyou 11 weeks earlier, at a lunch both families described afterwards as informal. She said yes on the 4th meeting, and everybody was very pleased. She came straight to the desk. You are Miss Wren. Dolores is fine. I would like 10 minutes and I would like the door shut. So Dolores shut the door. The 2 women looked at each other across a desk in a building where neither of them had a family name that counted. You resigned on Tuesday. Yes, 40 minutes after they announced me. Ha-Yoon sat down without being asked. I want you to know I did not arrange that. And I want you to know I checked whether I had. That was not what Dolores expected, and she took a moment with it. I believe you. You should not, on my word alone. So, Ha-Yoon put a phone on the desk, face up, with a photograph of a document open on it. This is page 11 of what my father signed. Look at the highlighted part. I photographed it in his study on Sunday night, and I have not slept properly since. Dolores looked at the screen. It was Clause 9. The same clause, from the other side of the deal, in the other family's copy. And there was a line in their version that was not in the one on her desk. They put a date on it, she said. Yes, the Monday after the wedding. Yes. Ha-Yoon's voice did not move, and there is a second paragraph. If the authority has not transferred by that Monday, the marriage settlement reduces by 40%. Dolores sat back. So you are the deposit. I am the delivery mechanism, Ha-Yoon said. You are the thing being delivered. There was a long silence in that office, and I want you to sit in it for a second. Two women had worked out at the same moment that neither of them was a person in that document. One was a signature. One was a date. "Does he know?" Dolores said. "He knows there is a merger. He knows there is a clause about signing authority, because he went through the summary and initialed it in October." Ha-Yoon turned the phone face down. "He does not know it has your name in it. The summary says the holder. Not you, the holder. That is not an accident. No, it is not." Dolores got up and went to the window, which faces a car park and a hill with a hospital on it. She stood there a while. 9 years, every permit, every lease, every payroll run. A pen handed to the one person in that building who could never be anybody's rival. The reason it was safe was the reason it was worth something, and she had not seen it until a stranger's phone was lying face down on her desk. "Why did you come here?" she said. "2 reasons, and one of them is not good." Ha-Yoon folded her hands. "The good reason is that you are being sold, and nobody has told you. The other reason is that I do not want to be married to a man who finds out in 3 years that this happened and looks at me and wonders. That is not a bad reason. It is not a kind one either." Dolores turned round. "What do you want to do?" "I want to not be a line in my father's agreement," said Ha-Yoon. "But I am 33, and I have a mother, and I have a brother at university, and I do not have the thing you have. What do I have?" Han looked at her for a moment as if the answer were extremely obvious. "You have a passport that is not Korean and a signature that is not his," she said. "Miss Wren, you have been standing on the only patch of ground in this building that nobody else can stand on. I do not think you have ever once looked down at it." They talked for another 40 minutes. At the end of it, Ha-Yoon stood up and put her coat on and stopped at the door, and she said the thing that Dolores thought about every night for the following month. "He talks about you," she said. "Not the way you would want. Not once has he said your name to me. He says the office would fall over. And I have wondered for 11 weeks whether he knows that is a way of saying something, or whether he really thinks he is describing a filing system." Then she left. Dolores sat down at a desk she had 26 days left at, opened the agreement to page 11, and started a list. Every contract signed in 9 years that would need a new name at the bottom. There were 411 of them. She did not confront him. I want to be exact about that, because it is the whole difference between this and the version of this story that gets told badly. She did not put the phone photograph on his desk. She did not walk into a room and say, "Your fiancé came to see me." She did not make herself the person who broke it, because the person who breaks it is the person everybody remembers afterwards, and she had watched what happened to those people for 9 years. What she did was go to a notary in Jongno on the Monday morning. With 411 contracts on a hard drive, you cannot simply stop having signed something. That is not how a signature works. But if you are the named signing authority and you are ending your appointment, you can file a formal notice of withdrawal, effective on the last day of your notice period. Lodged with the registry, copied to every counterparty. It costs about 200,000 won, and it takes 4 days. She copied all 411 of them. The first call came on the Wednesday from a construction firm in Gimpo, and it did not come to her. It came to the legal department, which forwarded it to Gu Taeyo's brother, who walked into that office without knocking for the first time since their father died. By Thursday, there were 60 of them. Every counterparty in 9 years had received a letter saying that the person whose name is on your contract will not hold that authority after the 21st, and that they should seek confirmation of the successor. There was no successor. There could not be one, because the person the other family had chosen could not be appointed until after the wedding. And the wedding was in April, and Dolores Wren left on the 21st of February. Clause 9 had a date in it. It did not have a plan. Gu Taeo came to the outer office at 4 on the Thursday and stood in front of her desk. 60 companies, he said. 61 by this afternoon. It will be all 411 by Tuesday. You did this without telling me. I filed a legal notice about my own name, Dolores said. You were copied on all of it. It is in the folder marked Withdrawal of Authority, in the same place every other folder has been for 9 years. He put both hands flat on the edge of her desk. Not a threat. A man holding on to a piece of furniture. They have been calling since yesterday, he said. The Choi Group want to know who signs the Gimpo permit renewal on the 22nd. I did not have an answer. I have never in my life not had an answer to who signed something. No, you have not. Because you were the answer. Yes. And then Guteo did the thing that made all of it possible, which was that he stopped talking and worked it backwards in front of her, out loud, the way you do a sum. October, he said. I initialed a summary in October. It said the holder. It did. Who wrote the summary? Their side. Your legal went through it and passed it. It is not wrong, Mr. Gu. It is just not specific. Nobody in that meeting had any reason to ask who the holder was, because everybody there has known for 9 years, and nobody has ever thought about it. He looked at her, including me, including you. He was quiet a long time. How long have you known? Since 10 past 10 on Tuesday morning, Dolores said. 40 minutes before you announced it. And she watched him put that together. She watched him understand what she had done with those 40 minutes, and that she had sat in the outer office all afternoon and moved a lunch and sent the Wednesday figures. You could have told me at 2 o'clock. Yes. Why did you not? Because I wanted to know whether you already knew, Dolores said. And I am not proud of that, and I would do it again. He nodded slowly. He did not argue with it. I think that is the moment, if there is one. The wedding did not happen, not because anybody exposed anything. It came apart the boring way, which is how these things actually come apart. The settlement had a 40% reduction, attached to a Monday that could no longer be met. Once the number moved, the two families discovered they had a great deal less to talk about. Im Ha-yoon sent Dolores one message about 6 weeks later. It said, I looked down at the ground. Thank you. Nothing else, and no arrangement to meet, and that was correct. Dolores left on the 21st of February. She did not leave the country. That is the part everybody assumes, and it is wrong. She had a life in that city, a doctor she liked, a woman at the market who kept back the good perilla leaves. 9 years is not a posting, it is a life. She took a flat in Yeonam-dong and did nothing for 5 weeks. And on the 2nd of April, Gu Teo came to that stairwell, which is the 9 minutes I told you about at the beginning. He came alone, and he did not come with an offer. I am not here about the signature, he said. I know, it is gone. There is a man in the legal department called Yoon who has it now, and he is perfectly competent. He is. You checked. Of course I checked. They were standing on a half landing between the 2nd and 3rd floors of a building in Yeonam-dong. She had not asked him up, he had not asked to come up, and neither had suggested going anywhere else. 9 years, he said. You never asked me for anything except a chair. I asked for a chair because I thought it was the only thing I would get. Yes, he said it immediately. That is what I have been sitting with. Then Guteo, who ran everything the Korean side of that city did not put in writing, stood on a concrete step and asked a question with no leverage in it at all. If I ask you to have dinner, is that a thing I am allowed to do now? Or is it a thing I was never allowed to do? Dolores thought about it properly. She let him stand there. It is a thing you were never allowed to do, she said. Because I worked for you. Because you could have ended my visa with a phone call. And because for 9 years there was version of me saying no to you that did not cost me my life in this country. I know you did not know on Tuesday. No, you know now. Yes. Then ask me again. Dolores said, "and this time I have got somewhere to go if the answer is no." And he asked her again, on a stairwell, on the 2nd of April. And she made him wait for it, and then she said yes. She sat in that office for 4 hours, knowing what was in Clause 9, and said nothing. Because she wanted to find out whether he already knew. Was that fair, or was that a test she had no right to set? Tell me below. She said she would do it again.